guys, how are things? Well, we're finally getting to do a review on this knife today. Just take my shim bag off and we can get down to business. This knife, I'm using this now for a good few months, and it's a knife made by, so I call him the Welsh Wizard, Robert Evans, okay? And it's called the MK Tribute, so the Kochanski Tribute. I suppose to a lot of people it just looks like a regular Morse type, Skookum-esque type knife, but it's really good for a number of reasons. It's a reliable 01 tool steel. I've been using this quite a lot, but this grind, it doesn't run up as high as a lot of the Skookum type bush tools do. Now that serves two really good purposes in my thinking anyhow. First one, I've processed a fair bit of game with this, and because of that steeper grind, the edge when ground to a zero Scandi is much more resilient to chipping on bone, which is a really good thing. And the other thing that I think it does really well, it does everything really well, but it's particularly good at making feathers. Because of this grind, it doesn't actually want to bite quite as much as, say, a kind of a more finished type Scandi grind where it's going higher up. So in Morse Kochanski, it's a tribute to Morse Kochanski, and in his thinking, a knife, although he'd be often seen with a Moore knife, when asked about it, what is a survival knife, he always said that the knife should be unbreakable, it should be a full tank construction, and it should be effectively a pry bar that works wood very well. Now this is 3mm thick, but that's plenty thick, and I have a sneaky feeling from using knives for so long that 3mm is possibly that sweet spot for Scandi grinds, and anything beyond that, maybe you might be better with a sabre grinder. So I'm not a huge fan of convex grinds. They're very strong, but they don't feather as well, in my opinion. We'll do a bit of battling with it anyhow, and it's palm width across. It's a very robust knife, very comfortable in the hand, and I would say, I can tell you this honestly, it's the sharpest knife I've ever received. Even though I bought this second hand off Robert, it was his own knife. It came to me absolutely hair popping sharp, and it's very seldom. I can only think of 2 occasions of knives that I've got over the last 20 odd years that I never had to put a little touch up on the edges, and this is one of them. And the other one is Chiro's Custom Knives, a knife I got off Adrian, and they're the only 2 I can think of. So well done on that, Rob. Now I'd also like to say, so good as this knife, I have another one of these coming with a slight twist on it during the week. I've also ordered a bush tool off him, and he does what we call, or what he calls, FTP, a full tank Kuko, and I'm going to get him to do one of those up for me when he's doing a batch of them as well. This guy is a guy to watch in the future, definitely, if he goes full time at knife making. He's only a part-time knife maker. I don't know why, because his stuff is really good. So anyhow, we'll do a little bit of battling. You're probably sick listening to me blabbering on about knives. So this is thereabouts wrist thick, and if a knife can handle wrist thick material, you know then that you're good to set fire, and you're also good to create shelter. Now it's going through that, no problem at all, no problems on the edge. Like I said, this is a really good knife, and I bought this, guys. It wasn't sent to me, I bought it. It also fits in perfectly with this thing that I teach to my students, is this propensity to carry. And let's face it, you're highly unlikely to be carrying a very large Bowie type knife or something like this. But you know what, I can carry this on my neck, and you know what, you nearly forget about it, you really do. So it's working away fine there, as you can see. It's great when you get a knife that is made by a survivalist or a bushcrafter, because straight out of the gates you're onto a winner, you know. And I remember years and years ago being at a hunting thing up in Glendalough in Wicklow, a deer hunting thing, and there was a gentleman that makes knives in Ireland. He did a presentation on what should be a good knife for deer hunting. And I remember after the presentation I asked him, like, do you deer hunt? And he said no. That's a serious no-no for me. How can someone create something? Being a fantastic knife maker is one thing, and understanding metallurgy is one thing, but to understand how a person would use this and what they would use it for, that's really, really vital. So this ticks all the boxes in that regard. Also, I'd like to point out, and it's a bugbear of mine, you've heard me saying this loads and loads of times, I detest, absolutely detest skeleton tangs. If you don't know what a skeletonized tang is, it's one that looks like this. It looks like it's a full tang, but if you were to remove these hand slabs, there's huge slabs of steel removed, and I would question, for what purpose? If you're making a full tang knife, allow it to be a full tang knife, and don't remove these, because I have broken knives that I believe to have been full tang. You know what, I feel so bad about it. I feel like it's almost misrepresentation, and a lot of people, you know, won't agree with me, whatever, but that's fine. These are my thoughts, and these are the thoughts that I put forward to my students. So we're going to light a feather with it, and we've feather sticks here made, and you know, if you've feathers made and you're doing something else, don't lie. Look at this, it's a beautiful day, the ground is wet here. Don't leave them lying around on the ground. Put them up in the crutch of a branch or something like that and keep them off the ground. So we're not lighting a fire here today, so I'm going to just put it down on the ground. If we were really actually lighting a fire, we're not having tea in the woods today or anything like that, we would have a bed of sticks here, preferably battened out sticks, so the inner core is turned up. So another little bit of jute here. That's really only a couple of inches of jute, and when you fluff it out, and it's just back to that thing that I teach as well. I always believe in conserving your resources, whether that's firewood, so you don't make a fire so big that you have to stand 18 feet away from it, you know, because all these things run out, and all these things require the use of calories to replenish them. So a big no-no is we don't want to be over striking this, and I think it's become kind of a habit now with people to take out their ferro rod, and before they even try and strike it, to start doing this to clean off the surface. Well, that's well and good, but why not do that while trying to light some tinder? And if you manage to gain ignition, well, you've saved a couple of strikes on your ferro rod, and all these things, they do count, and they do add up. So I just want to give this a little strike, and away she goes. So that's really just to show you how good the spine is on this. It's fantastic spine. You know what, I couldn't fault anything in this knife, and it's very seldom that I'm like that. The handle is extremely comfortable, I must say, absolutely extremely comfortable to handle this. And it's a forgotten part of knife design. You know, a lot of people make a lovely sweeping blade or whatever, and it looks fantastic, and you put it in your hand, and like, you have to say to yourself, can I work with this for hours on end? Because if you can't, it's probably not suitable for what you need in the bush as a wilderness knife, or a survival knife, or a bushcraft knife, whatever you want to call it. Me personally, I would call this a survival knife that can serve as a bushcraft knife. In my thinking, a dedicated bushcraft knife is probably something more stick tang, and it could be more prone to break. whereas I think a survival knife is something that if it can break, it's not built to the right standards that you need in a survival knife, and this certainly is. And Rob, I just want to say well done on this. It's a really, really good knife, and like I said, guys, I'm not connected with Rob in any way other than you know, I'm friends with him on Instagram. I buy knives off him, and even if I was getting knives for free, like, I mean, I always give a sort of a truthful opinion on what I think is a good knife or isn't a good knife, because in these times, and in any time, when someone is spending a large amount of money on a knife, you know, if they're buying it because I've said so, that weighs heavy on my mind, that they're spending their hard-earned money on something that I have recommended. So guys, I've nothing more to tell you about this. Give Rob, he has a YouTube page, and he's on Instagram, and he's well worth a look. And you know what, I hope when he's making knives and he's as big as Mr. Garcia with the Skookum Bush tool, that I won't have to wait the lifespan of a Labrador to get one. So guys, thanks for dropping by, and I'll probably be giving you a quick look at a new knife that I got from Rob next week. Okay, see you soon guys, take care.